Yo, car friends, what's happening? Getting ready to start a project here, and before I got started, I was like, you know what? Let's do a YouTube video series on this. A lot of channels out there, they're showing you how to tear things down, showing you how to repair stuff. There aren't a lot of channels that I've seen that really kind of look at the whole timeline of a project that starts with this engine, which is basically a junkyard core, through the teardown, finding out what's wrong with it, and then building it back up. The idea behind this project is that this engine is going to go into a BMW E36 M3 that I've got. It's currently a track/race car, and it just needs a little bit more power, and I want to stay all motor. So doing anything to that S52 that's in it now there's not a lot of options out there, but the S54 gives me a bunch of options to make more power, and there's some other pretty trick things I'm going to do with the driveline as well. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, stick around. Hopefully the series gets better. I realize I'm just an amateur. I don't have the lighting. I don't got the mics, none of that stuff. But hopefully there's some good information. And if nothing else, you can watch me make some mistakes and hopefully do some really cool stuff with this. So hit that like, subscribe button, whatever it is, and follow along. So here's the history on this engine. I went looking, like I said, for something that needed some work. I wasn't going to spend all that money. I wasn't going to spend $8 grand on a good motor and then tear it down anyway. So I was looking for something that I knew could be fixed, but also wasn't good enough for someone to come throw some money down and put it in their car. Stumbled across this on Facebook Marketplace from a guy local. I'm in Atlanta. The car was up near Road Atlanta, as a matter of fact. And the history on the engine is this. It came out of an 06 M3 retractable hardtop car, but it did have a manual transmission. I've got a video of this thing running. It sounds like crap. Rod knock at the very minimum, probably some head damage. I guess we'll see when we pull it apart. The car was a repo. Great, and it was a manual gearbox car, so our best guess is somebody financed the car as a used car, got behind on the payments, ragged the crap out of it, probably money shifted the car, and then because it was broken, needed a motor, just stopped paying on it, and it ended up in my buddy's yard. If we're lucky, it's just bearings, really loud bearings. Even if there is a little bit of damage on the bottom end, I'm okay. We're gonna get it machined. It's getting new rods and pistons at a minimum. It's getting some head work done. So I don't care if it's got to be machined. It just needs to be usable. If this core ends up being unusable, then we've got to go back to the drawing board and find another block. So what the heck? Let's start tearing into this thing and see what we see. All right, so you'll notice there's a lot of junk in here. This thing was sitting in a garage. It's been left open. There's bolts and stuff hanging out, so someone's already done a job of tearing this thing down. So we're going to kind of work around all the missing parts or whatever else is going on in here. But like I said, let's go ahead and take a look at these spark plugs. All right, so kind of looking from the, where did I start here? The back of the motor moving forwards. That's number 6, number 5, number 4, 3, 2, 1. There doesn't look like there's any real damage there. All right, so the plugs look decent. Most importantly, none of them were smashed, right? We didn't see a piston come up into a plug, which gives me a little bit of hope that the valve train's in good shape. They were all the same brand, all the same number. I don't know that those are the correct plugs for this block, but at least they were consistent. We didn't have like one split fire in there for 0.2 extra horsepower. All right, I got to get this exhaust manifold off because I owe it back to the guy I bought the motor from, plus I don't want it, so let's do that now. Got you. This is an oil accumulator, essentially. It stores high-pressure oil for the Vanos unit, so that doesn't starve of oil. The Vanos unit, for those of you who aren't familiar, is what controls the variable valve timing. In this motor, it's on both the intake and the exhaust side. So we're going to get rid of this, and then we're going to... Just kidding. Just in the way. I don't think I needed to go all the way with that, but we did. Oh, just kidding. I actually don't know if I need this, so we'll put it on the table. While I've got the 10mm on, we're going to get rid of this EGR valve. No one likes EGR. Alright, and now this thing. Well, alright, and AC bracket. Oh, this is going to be a pain, huh? Done. All right, so we got the exhaust side of the engine taken apart. Now we're on the intake side. These are pretty valuable. Individual throttle bodies, kind of unique to this engine. So I'm going to pull the throttle bodies off, the fuel rail. This is the drive-by-wire or throttle activator. So there's no throttle cable in this car. It's got a sensor on either side. This electric motor moves the throttle. Also pretty valuable, so I'm going to hang on to that. These are very valuable. This is the E36 M3 had most of the BMW inline six motors have this kind of oil filter assembly on the side. This one's good because it comes with the oil cooler in and out. A lot of people upgrade to this one because you can't get it. So we'll pull that off, get the dipstick out of here. This is some kind of PCV. We'll get rid of that and some of these sensors, clean it up, get the rest of the bracketry off the front. And yeah, then we can pull the head off. Let's do it. Not gonna do it. Okay, so we got all those bolts out there, all the bolts out the front. There is a bunch of debris in there. I'm not too worried about it because, again, this whole thing is coming apart. And everything's going to come down to every last nut and bolt and get cleaned. And I'm hanging on to the fasteners, but this thing's going to get all new fasteners anyway, so I'm not worried about that piece either. So now, ooh, it's got some years of gunk on it. There we go. All right. Did it. So, that debris is my fault. But so far, I'm not seeing anything terrible. There is some gunk in there. That was a rat turret or something. Alright. So that leaves us a pretty clear picture. We've got the motor mount's got to come out, throttle actuator, this coolant pipe, the coolant housing at the front. So let's waste no time. Woohoo! All right, so next we're going to remove the timing assembly. We're going to take this upper guide off and then we'll move on to the cam gears. There's a Vanos gear that's got to come off, or a Vanos piece on the outside, and then the actual cam gears bolt to the cam behind that, the chain should drop down. And then obviously, well, not obviously if you're not familiar with it, but the cams interfere with your ability to get to the head bolt. So we got to take the cams out to get to the head bolts and pull the head. So let's begin. Now that the clips are removed, I'm going to crack loose the cam caps in the logical order. So I'll crack them loose first, and then I'll go back and hit them with the impact just to be speedy. Okay, so we've got the cams out. Everything looks pretty decent, but I've got my parts laid out on the table, identical, exactly how they came out of the head for reassembly if we need those parts. But I'll clean this up so we can take a better look at it. Before we can do anything else, this bridge in the front's got to come out because it's blocking those two head bolts. So we'll just crack these, and then we'll whiz them out. Come here, whiz. Okay, if we wanted to, we could pull these rods out, this pivot bar, slide it out, and then take all the rockers out, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. You can see they're just kind of free floating, and we can take a look underneath and see what's going on there. I just want to get the head off. I'm going to let the head shop do what they do. So I've got a E36 14 millimeter, or 14, or whatever the 14 stands for. Yeah, BMW, yeah. Take a look and see what we got. I don't know how easy it is to see. The cylinder walls are pretty good. There's a little debris in there, but like I said, there was a bunch of junk, dirt and whatnot. But you can see on this piston, if I get my fingers down in here, see how it's shiny? That was making contact with the head. So that's our cylinder with the bad bearing. It had moved just enough to make incidental contact. It might be more than incidental contact. We'll find out. But oh, you heard that. So bad bearing here. All right, good news. Only one bad bearing. So we're just going to hope that it didn't damage the crank too bad and it's all machinable. So we've got the head here. You can see there's not much to see on this side. It's all just, you know, too long of an interval between oil changes. It's all hazed up and gritty and dirty. So not the best maintained engine. But when we get around the bottom side, again, you can see right here where it was, the head was contacting the piston. So it cleans it up a little bit. Fortunately, it doesn't look that bad. None of the valves look bent. Just your typical S54 rod bearing. I'm not even seeing any compromising of the head gasket, and even the cooling jackets, they're rusty, but they're not clogged. It's not bad. So this could have been a lot worse. So far the gamble is okay. Alright, so next I want to take the oil pan off. I don't want to spin the engine around because, well, honestly, I've drained as much of the oil out of it as I could, but if there's anything left, I don't want it falling back in. And then it's got this oil line that comes up from the pan. I don't want to disconnect it from the pan right now, so I'm just going to take it off the block. It'll drop down with the pan or do whatever it's going to do. There's a bunch of 10 millimeter bolts around the bottom. I'll take all but a couple out and then slowly take the rest out when I get. I don't know if it's going to fall down or just don't want to make a mess. Oh, nice job. All right, well. Oh, found him. All right, I'm going to turn this towards the camera so you can just see it a little better. So we've got the bottom end of the engine opened up. There's no obvious debris other than the crud I pulled out of the pickup, which is definitely alarming, but we knew there was going to be something because we think that this number 4 bearing is bad, so I expect to have bearing material somewhere in the engine. That's a good place for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the oil pump assembly off. I know I should probably take the timing cover off first, but I'm just going to do it this way. I don't think there's anything interesting behind there, so we'll pull the oil pump assembly off. I'll take a quick look in the pickup. This is one of those dual pickup motors. Or oil pumps. I didn't even realize that there's no screen on this side. I don't know if there's supposed to be or not, so it's worth looking into, I suppose. And then we'll turn the engine over so we can access the pistons. We'll take the rod caps off, push the pistons out through the bottom, and then when all is said and done, I'm not sure if I'm going to take the crank out yet. We'll just see what everything else looks like as we go. Take these two 10mm out that support the rear pickup. Well, it's not a 9, so it's probably a 6mm hex on these oil pump bolts. Oh, look at that. Get a new oil pump anyway. So, executive decision. That's a 15. Nope, 19. No, 19. 17. I believe this is a reverse thread. It is. Alright, so in all fairness, I've never actually done this before, so go easy on me. Okay, so we're back. Sorry, my battery went dead in both cameras. So got number 1 out, sitting over there on the table. I'll show you them all. Probably not going to record pulling all these out, but I am going to keep everything in order. I'm going to keep the rod cap obviously associated with the rod, the pistons, all going to go over there with the bearing pieces so that we can take a look at them. So I'm going to zip these out, and here we go. Alright, so I turned the camera back on for these two as I got all these 4 out, nice and easy, no problems. You can see down in here that oil is very, very nasty. I don't, I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember if the head gasket was breached or not, but this thing sat for a long time, so there's a lot of moisture in the oil. So I'm not too worried about that. But this is the cylinder that failed, or at least that we know that's got a bad bearing. This one I thought was okay, but it's a little difficult to get the rod cap off, which makes me think there might be some damage in here. So we turn the camera back on. We'll take a look. soft taps. Well, definitely not a pretty bearing, but looks like everything is okay in there. Yeah. And these are coming out really easy. It's a good sign. I can almost just wiggle it out from the bottom like I did the others. Come on, baby. There we go. Oh, caught on the chain. And I said, like I said, we'll come back and look at these. Oh. Oh. Well, that was easy. So let's take a look. Yeah, you can, there's no bearing left there. Oh, there was a bearing there. Huh. Well, I'm impressed. I don't know that it was spun. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. I was really worried this thing got cooked hard. Look at that. That's not too bad. Alright, so we'll just do a quick walk down here. These are all the pistons and rods in order. And this is the one that was knocking. And that is unique to me. That's pretty crazy. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. So, and both the top and the bottom were like that. So obviously, you know, that bearing's done. And it took a lot of other pieces with it from a wear perspective. But if you've seen that before, hit me up in the comments. I'm curious. Like, that's crazy. But if we look at the rest of them, hopefully the glare's not bad. It's showing a lot of wear. All of these bearings showing a lot of wear. This motor had, I think, 155,000 on it, and it certainly doesn't look like it was taken care of. So, I mean, that one's not too bad. I think some of the other ones had some more skirt wear than the others, but not terrible. Gunked up oil rings a little bit. But in any case, definitely need to be torn down. Surprised there wasn't more carnage in this thing. Here's another example. That's a really bad bearing right there. But again, we knew that, so took a gamble on it. Looks like it paid off. We'll see. Well, I'm not much for gambling. When I go to Vegas, I always lose my butt. But I took a gamble on this, and actually it turned out better than I expected. I really thought I would see some more damage in that cylinder. Half of me thought there might even be 2 cylinders worth of damage, but one spun bearing, some machine work, and that thing should go back together pretty good. So we'll keep at it. I appreciate you guys dialing in, watching this this video that I put together. Hopefully I got the energy to keep going with these things. I promised you a look at what this motor was going in, and so this is it. This is my E36. It's got a GTR wide body kit on it from Flossman, all carbon. Currently it's got an S52. It's fun to drive, but with 315 square rubber all the way around, it needs a little bit more power. So I think the idea here is going to be that S54. Made it up to a E36 M3 DCT gearbox, the 7-speed. I know, why get rid of the manual, but you know, at the end of the day, it's just better. It really is. And we do some endurance racing, and it's nice to not have to worry about every heel-toe rev match. The computer takes care of it for you, so it really does take a lot of the driver load off and help you focus on other things. Anyway, this could change 100 times between now and the time it's finished, but yeah, hit that like, subscribe button, however this thing works. Stay tuned in for the next video, and yeah, see how it goes.